everybody. Hey, how are you? How was your week? Oh, let me tell y'all, I am not on live in this, as far as the screen is concerned, because I don't feel very well, number one. And number two, I'm not looking up to par. So I'm going to abbreviate today's live, but I have some important things that I wanted to bring to your attention and just let you know that I'm still kicking and that I am still um, tenacious when it comes down to making sure I am here for you and for myself. This is all about my dreams and my aspirations as well. So I hope you all appreciate that. But for the most part, let's get right to it because it won't be long. I promise y'all. I just don't feel good. I part of me is feeling like um, sinusy. It's not like I feel sick, like blah. It's more like just a lot happened this week and last week, and it's just a lot going on. But um, with all that being said, I have a lot of sinus stuff going on, and I've been taking my. The only thing that works for me during this time when it's sinus season is the wonderful Advil sinus congestion and pain. And in some stores, they keep that in the back because a lot of people were using it to make crystal meth. So just to be on the safe side, so you know where it's at, you might have to ask the pharmacist. But getting into our world news today, I thought that this was just simply interesting. You know, I know that I talk to y'all all the time about people in the younger generation. And I get confused as to what those ages are. I'm more into just the way that people think and the way that they rationalize and their rationale in general. And so I was taken aback. Imagine my surprise when I opened up the bustling news for topics for today. And as I'm rummaging through them, I found out that some of the people in America, some of the young Americans that go to TikTok. Now, mind you, the age group that TikTok usually is focusing mostly on would be anybody from that was born before Bin Laden's reign of terrorism. Sorry about that. My alarm clock was going off. It always reminds me of different things. But at any rate, before 2001, um, a lot of you can probably find this if you search for it, but Osama bin Laden was a terrorist that was basically terrorizing the United States, sending letters to the United States, killing American civilians, trying to justify those killings in a published letter that he had written in 2002. So recently, somehow, this letter began to circulate on social media, and TikTok, being the supreme of them all in terms of younger people, was the main, well, one of the main ones that resurfaced this letter. Now, TikTok is definitely not saying, oh, yeah, these are the numbers, blah, blah, blah. They're trying to remain as neutral as possible, but they're going to have to speak up and be transparent, regardless if it did hit their social media site or not. They need to take a stance. They can't be responsible for and you, but they don't need to hide behind this shit either. So basically, what happened is about, yeah, I don't know, 10 to 12 different young Americans posted like some videos on TikTok this week. And they were talking about, oh my God, we feel so sorry for Osama bin Laden. You know, even though we know him, those of us that are older, as this notorious terrorist who basically orchestrated the whole 9/11 attacks. And I'll never forget, I was on the treadmill. I sure was while this was happening. And I was like scared to death. But for 2 decades, this old letter that he wrote, which again critiqued the United States It included the government in support of Israel. Okay. And in this letter, he tried to justify his killings of American civilians, people that didn't have anything to do with his craziness. You see, now a lot of things going on in different countries, they're into martyrdom. They'll die a martyr for their country. You know what I'm saying? It's no big deal to them. However, our people in the United States, I guess you could say one form of being a modern, being in a martyr, that is by someone. I would say, if you go to the military, okay, maybe you could say if you were in the military, you would be considered a martyr. But I disagree again wholeheartedly with being a martyr, because I'm not. I can't. I'm sorry, but I'm not. I might take a bullet for my child and my grandbabies. But when it comes down to dying for a whole country of people I don't know, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But I definitely am here to support, represent, and what I'm saying, uh, uh, be a stand up as an American individual. But you young people, I really implore you to do your history, because just because you feel sorry for someone based on a few sentences, or because you read something and interpreted it differently, doesn't mean anything. He got his Doritos before he died. He There were things that the United States took care of when President Obama was in office. He took care of the man, but at the same time, these could have been your parents, your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles, or whatever that he just decided he was just going to kill for the heck of it. So you really need to do your research, you guys. You really, really do. I mean, I'm not, you know, uh, criticizing you for having your feelings. But in this letter, it attempted to justify him targeting and killing American civilians. And the original publication of this letter was done in 2002. But again, like I said, this week on the social media, it began to platform again. And on the topic, it had basically garnered at least 14 million views by today. So, so many of these videos that support some of bin Laden's assertions, and it urged a lot of people to read the letter. But it was shared in a wider context of criticism of American support for Israel in its ongoing war against Hamas. So, like right now, there's all this other stuff that is tainting the view. Don't get it twisted. You know, the American people, as I explained and discussed last week, are allies with Israel. They support Israel. Israel does things for the United States. The United States, helps them. There are certain types of war areas and war situations that Israel has made available to the United States, but that's irrelevant. What Osama bin Laden did was not something that any of the American companies, I would say, would advocate for that. Now TikTok came on and they were like, well, the video promoting the letter violates their rules against supporting any form of terrorism, which rightfully so. But at the same time, TikTok said the number of videos that were necessarily out there on TikTok promoting that letter were probably small. And they also said it's, the report of it trending on TikTok was inaccurate. Now, I don't know where the numbers came from, but if numbers were out there, then there's probably a good chance that they weren't as inaccurate as TikTok would like us to believe. But they declined to provide any data or support because, they are going to just put it out there verbally. But they need to come through and be transparent, because it is a huge, huge platform with the young Americans today. The majority of Americans are under 30 that use TikTok at least once a week. according to the Kennedy Family Foundation survey, which basically it does support reports for health and um, all kinds of different data, but they basically said that the amount of people that support TikTok are well under their 30s. And many of the TikTok users were born way before September 11th, 2001, when those terror attacks took place. 19 men were hijacked, commercial airliners, intentional crashed in planes and killed nearly 3,000 people. So y'all little young folks, I love you. You know what I'm saying? I'm here for you. But y'all got to come up with this information y'all getting and utilizing to form opinions. You know what I'm saying? Uh, Osama bin Laden was not like your worst parent. Like, oh ma, oh dad, oh my God, you're like so annoying. No, he was way times 10,001 times worse than that. And, let's take your most favorite possession, your dog, your cat, your whatever it is, and say somebody did something, heinous to them and hung them by their tail and whatever and whatnot. You wouldn't like that. You would not, be privy to supporting a terrorist that hurts your little precious animal. And we are human. So just think about it in the sense of him and what he did to humans. It was multiple times worse when we talk about the difference between us and an animal, even though now a lot of us put our animals on the same platform as humans. So that's just a little bit in terms of what I'm trying to tell you. But I will say, I know TikTok is hugely popular with young people. This is not the first time TikTok done had a run in terms of things that may have kind of quenched people's thirst for using them. But TikTok, again, y'all need to be a little more transparent with this and just tell the truth, because you don't have anything to do with it as a platform that these letters surface. And for all practical and intensive purposes, your average customer is not us, those of us who have gone through it. It's those who don't know about it and those who are advocating. So, yes, while we don't want you to advocate terrorism or any type of documentation that would advocate terrorism, TikTok, we do want your transparency so that you can educate our American people, especially our American young people, because for the most part, when those terrorist attacks took place, you know, New York, DC, rural areas in Pennsylvania were all attacked. And this was orchestrated by bin Laden, who was the former leader of Al Qaeda's terrorist group. Now, he was killed in the United States Special Forces raid in 2011, but neither here nor there. You live, like they say, you reap what you sow. He who reaps will also sow. So that was his plight in life. And as I mentioned early on at the podcast, there are a lot of countries and people that live in those countries who are martyrs and will die for their country. And that is exactly what he did. But for the most part, many of the videos that were shared with the hashtag letter to America, the views in the videos had exceeded, like I said, 14 million. But some were from users like expressing frustration and disgust about the letter and how it had been praised by others on the platform. So it wasn't everybody that was advocating this. But in one video, but they did take this one down, it had been viewed more than 1.6 million times. And it was a New York based lifestyle influencer who basically was encouraging people to read the letter. And he or she basically said that if you have read it, let them know. And if you are going through an existential crisis in at this very moment or whatever, um, because in the last 20 minutes, their life and their whole viewpoint on their entire life have been believed to what they had believed and now been changed. But yet again, y'all cannot take on the way other people believe in and the things that people believe in. You got to be strong people. You got to, search your roots. Again, that video got removed. I hear CNN even reached out. to the user for a comment, but another video viewed more than 100,000 times on TikTok users. But we're just going to call Osama bin Laden a terrorist. So it, it that's what we call him. But some people was videotaping. Oh, if Osama bin Laden was a terrorist, so was the American government. Well, those are two different battles, folks. So learn and pick and choose your battles. You can't have it all. You can't get it the way you want it. You are in a country where you live in the land of the free, the home of the brave. You could take that for whatever you want. But if you lived in those countries, Al Qaeda or some other country that was, being ruled and governed by some former terrorist, let's see how you pan out then. Y'all just don't know how lucky you got it. I love you, young people, but y'all sometimes y'all cry too much. You're upset too much. Everything hurts. Everything's annoying. You don't want to do nothing. You get a job paying $20 an hour, 40 hours a week. You done made a little bit of money. You quit. Y'all don't have the wherewithal to withstand the adults that are before you, and you don't have the respect, a lot of you, and it is very unfortunate if that's how you choose to be. But I will say this: there's never justification for spreading evil or negative, nasty, repugnant lies that a leader from Al Qaeda over 22 years ago started and killed people that could be family members of some of you. So you should never insult the fact that almost 3,000 families are suffering to this day because this man, who we gave Doritos to before he died, and if I'm not mistaken, pizza, because these were the things that he wanted before he was killed. Y'all gotta do your homework, youngins. It is a broad critique of Americans' foreign policy, and for the most part, you might have an opinion on that, and great for you if you do. But at the same time, this is a much deeper fight. And if you quit a job, you getting paid $20 an hour. Imagine you being one of those men on the front line of war. You wouldn't withstand it, but you want to take up for a terrorist. So anyway, that was one of the most horrifying times in our history. There are others, but that was horrific because we didn't know where this man was. He had his people hiding him. We couldn't figure it out. And so when Obama came into office, he pulled connects and he got his ass, and he made sure he would no longer surface on this earth. So I'm sorry, young people, that y'all were disappointed. But I tell you what, if there was one wish for our world, that would be for your younger generation to adhere to some of the understandings that maybe, just maybe, could prevent you from going awry, but save you from going into a very negative, dark place. And a lot of times that happens on a spiritual level. So find your spiritual level, young people. Raise up, rise up, and make sure that you can definitely speak up in a positive way for those who can no longer speak. So thank you again for joining me on this edition of Dina Marie Live. This has been Wishes for the World, and that is my wish for the world. But in conclusion, I also want to ask that many of you please keep your eyes, your ears open, and please keep me in the loop. Come through, come on and talk with me. Voice your opinion. I would love for you to have your voice heard on Dina Marie Live. So hit me up. You can go to DinaMarieLive.com and sign up for any one of, the topics, and I will definitely get back in touch with you. Thank you, guys. I'll be right back with our trending topics right after this. Thank you so much for joining me on Wishes for the World.